Welcome from Mary Willcox Smith and myself. My name is Adrienne Cotton. We are here to talk about two really, really important topics, and that is perimenopause and menopause, which is one topic, and parenting, which is another. And we have become such good friends because we have talked about the alignment of the two of them. We know you're going to learn a lot of information today, and we know you're busy. So we want to make sure. Take your phone if you can, put it away, close the door to your office or wherever you are. And if you can give us the next 45 minutes, both Mary and I are pretty darn sure we're going to blow you away some really easy tips to help you on your journey through parenting and perimenopause. So, my name is Adrienne Cotton. I am a wellness expert. I specialize in helping women feel good and strong in their bodies. I will tell you later about my proprietary method. It is called the Wellness Wheel, where I focus on sleep, stress, food, diet, and your calendar. I have 25 years experience doing this, and I have been deep in the research. I have several certifications. I am highly certified in strength training and in nutrition. I have a background in Southern California. I'm a surfer girl from Southern California. I am a mom of twin 18-year-olds. I'm a former Capitol Hill staffer, and I'm actually a former corporate executive in public affairs in a very large company in this area. And like many people, they leave their corporate career and they start a gym, which is what I did. I decided that my job where I was at this company was not serving me and my wellness. So I moved into a space of wellness and I opened up a gym. My gym was called Fitness on the Run. I owned it for about 15 years. And then after 15 years, I'll tell you my story later and the stories of many of the women with whom I work. I've worked with over 3,000 women, and I found that I needed to now focus exclusively on women. So now that's what I do. I work with women one-on-one in a group setting and helping them transcend this period of time, no pun, from perimenopause, menopause, and beyond. I am joined here by my friend Mary Willcox Smith. Mary and I met at Heroic Public Speaking, and we met because we both have such a passion for what we do and what we believe in that we want to help you and serve our audience. So we decided that we have a very, very similar, the women with whom we work have a similar challenge. And they're in the same state of life, either perimenopause, menopause, and parenting, somewhere between the late 30s and through the rest of your life, you are in this period of time often. So Mary has become a friend of mine. Mary is an accomplished speaker, like I am, and an author. And I'd like her to give you a little bit of an introduction to her and her amazingness. Mary?
Hello, everybody, and welcome. Thank you, Adrienne. Um, yes, so I'm a parent coach, which means I work with parents, not the children. And the reason I'm in that is I have four girls. They were born within 5 years. You think that math is hard? Try living it. They were born within 4 years, and we went through some really dark years. I bring all of my own crap to the table, and it sort of showed up right around tweendom, also when I was going through perimenopause. And I really remember realizing after the fact that I was the change agent, that what I do, and especially with younger children, what we do, younger kids, I mean teens and tweens also, because mine are not out of college, what we do changes how they act and cooperate and behave. So I got into parent coaching. And then because I'm frenetic, I came up with these short moments of what to do. And I would explain how it works and what the brain science was behind it, but how to actually take advantage of a moment and what to say and do in that moment to change it. And I then created a method that I call the micro step method. From that, I decided to do more speaking where I met Adrien and I wrote the book, The Microstep Method for the Overwhelmed Parent. So today I'm going to share with you, some of the stuff that's going on for you, but I'm also going to give you some of these moments, some of the really important ones to start with. So that's what you're going to walk away with. And I think that's it. I think I really want to say, I would like to go back to Adrian now. And why don't we start with what's going on in your brain, in the women's brain and her body now, right? With perimenopause and menopause, and why does that matter with parenting?
I'm glad you asked. So, let's dive right in, ladies. So, really, well, I have to always start with the definition because there's a lot of information, there are a lot of messages out there, social media, friends, wherever you're looking. And I want to set the record straight today and explain to you exactly what is perimenopause, what is menopause, what are the symptoms. Are you there? Are you not? Are you heading in? Are you on your way out? So, number one, perimenopause. Peri means before. So peri before the pause of your menses, of your cycle. It is the transition years when your hormones fluctuate drastically. It's when a woman's ovaries, just like a roller coaster ride, they gradually produce less estrogen and progesterone, and I'd like to add testosterone as well here, are three sex hormones. It really is puberty in reverse. The average age is around 45. You can be in your 30s, as I said earlier. You can be in your 50s, but the average age is 45. It can last 4 to 8 years. That means you can have your period and be in perimenopause, which is that's what happens. You are still have your period. Eventually, over time, and I can't get into it today, into the details of the 4 stages of perimenopause. However, there are 4 stages, they're fairly distinct, and the first two, you still have your period almost every month. It's marked by all these hormonal fluctuations. What does that mean? So, in our brain, in this 3 pound organ between our ears, we have a confluence of thousands and thousands of hormones and neurotransmitters moving at the same time. Well, when we were primally intended as women to reproduce, and our body is sensing something is off, it triggers all kinds of different symptoms. And that is really, if you were to stop my talk here, that is the most important thing I want you to hear is that before this, puberty up and through today, you were intended and were made to reproduce. Once perimenopause starts, and yes, you can get pregnant in perimenopause, your hormones are fluctuating greatly and they cause the night sweats, the histamine issues, the migraines, the mood changes, the weight gain, the sleep disturbances. And this can go on for 10 years. Average is 4 to 8. It is not outside the realm of possibility that it can last for 10. It's a tough ride. So today I'm hoping to give you some quick tips and some tools and potentially even work with me in a group setting or one-on-one so I can show you some really tried and true ways that my clients have literally gone through this journey with ease. Menopause, menses pause. It means you no longer have your cycle, and the medical terminology will tell you, and it's the same across the board, you are in menopause when you haven't had a period for a solid year. It's the end of reproductive years. What happens here is we have again those hot flashes, those night sweats, but they start to decrease a little bit because the roller coaster ride is starting to slow down, as I'll show you in a graph coming up. Bone density loss and increased heart risk are my greatest passion to help every woman here today understand. This is what's happening in perimenopause and menopause, and you have to change the way that you approach your wellness. And I'll talk to you a little bit more about it later. Crazy passionate about it. Vaginal dryness is a top 4 symptom, and bladder changes, pelvic floor issues happen. Mood and sleep issues are also very common. So I thought I'd show you a graph of what's happening to your new brain and body in perimenopause. It's new because it hasn't been through this before. And as you can see, that 0 on the far right, that's when you hit menopause. That's when you've gone through the full 12 months. Up until then, you can see your progesterone originally goes down. Your estrogen actually goes up. So that's something that you may not have known. And your testosterone slowly but surely goes down. That's your energy system. So you can see over the course of time between 0 and 10 years, you've got this roller coaster ride. Now, what are the emotions and what's the experience? You experience anxiety and worry much more so because your brain is stressed. It doesn't know what to do with you. Sadness, low mood, mood swings, anger, frustration, fear, loneliness, the weight gain, the loss of libido, all of these symptoms are going on. And oftentimes it's fraught with shame because we don't talk about it as much. Thankfully, 25 years ago when I got into this business, we were still calling it the change. Thankfully, we are actually using the term perimenopause and menopause more, and there are menopause specialists. However, the good news is you can gain a ton of empowerment and resilience because perhaps right now you're learning more about your body than you ever did before. This is menopause. So menopause, it really just stabilizes out. Again, this is your new brain, new body. You went from that graph before here. In menopause, you can continue that low mood, reduce motivation to exercise, eat a balanced diet. You've got this lingering anxiety and depression. And what is happening? It's because the progesterone and the estrogen, they affect our mood regulation. And testosterone contributes to our low drive and energy. So, what's happening with you? You're busier than ever. Many of you have children and have elderly parents. You're caring for both. Painting of a rust is a term that one of my dear friends says, we have problems that come our way and we're going to put them over on the shelf. I'm an Olympian at this. I'm just going to deal with it later. Well, it doesn't go away. Weight gain is definitively the biggest challenge any client who comes to me is struggling with. Why am I gaining weight? And I will tell you it's because you're practicing the same diet and exercise habits as you did in your 20s and 30s when you had a different brain. The resulting shame from weight gain, your sleep disruptions are real, and it's because of what's going on with your estrogen and particularly progesterone. And you don't have any stress resilience practices and strategies that we teach in our program, from very simple to a little bit more complex. And you have this lack of libido. So these are all these reasons why our emotions are felt so deeply, and then we're really not talking about it. So with that, I have good news toward the end, I promise. I wanted to give Mary a chance to talk about. We've gone through perimenopause and menopause, and now you enter into this other role of your life. You're a parent. Mary, why does parenting seem so challenging during this time?
Well, I mean, some of it's obvious from what you've said, right? We're not feeling as good. We don't have as much energy. And that's the start of it. You're taking care of these beings that have come to rely on you, especially as they're getting a little bit older and they want a little bit of independence, but you are used to doing everything for them. So, the first thing I like to point to is what Adrien just said. We are less regulated. It is harder to regulate ourselves for all of the reasons Adrien's given. So even just recognizing that and being aware of it and giving yourself a little bit of compassion for that is a good start. And in the tools at the end, I'm going to share the repair, which is a really critical part of my method. And it means keep blowing up because sometimes the repair even makes that blow up worth it. So don't worry about blowing up. There's a way to fix that. But so we've got that stress, but also I want to point out that our kids in general as a population are less regulated than we were years before. We are a more permissive culture these days. That's a reality, no matter how you're parenting. And what the effect of that is there are fewer built-in regulation skills than we've had in the past because kids are in charge a lot from very young. So you've got this combustible mix. And what happens is you end up co regulating less because still in their tweens, you are modeling regulation, which is how they learn regulation. So we are still teaching them that. They act out more, and those small moments begin to feel loaded. So that's just a reality. It feels heavier because there's less regulation on both sides. The tween teen brain has a push pull dynamic, which is very frustrating for you. They are wired to push for independence, but they need connection. So what worked in grade school suddenly backfires. That sort of wanting to cooperate, acquiescing, obeying when you just say no, that flips to sort of debates and eye rolls and slam doors and pushing back. So to you, it looks like they've amped up and they are worse kids and what happened to them. But really, it's completely developmentally appropriate. They're not rejecting you. Adolescence is the time for them to push limits harder, to practice control, and to experiment with independence. But the problem is, underneath, they're still asking, are you, can you still see me? So it's like, go away from me. Don't tell me what to do. Oh, can you drive me to Sam's house? And you're like, what? You just told me you hate me. But that is really normal, but it makes you feel crazy. So some of these tools address that. The third is, as I said, the cultural our culture is that we're a little more permissive and they haven't developed as much self-control and emotional regulation. But we're hearing in this culture like, have empathy, be nice, listen, respect them, let them have choices. Oh, but wait a minute, you're supposed to have limits, but don't hover. So it becomes really complicated. Their wiring is not there yet. Their prefrontal cortex, where they do organization, prioritization, responsibility, making good decisions, empathy, that has not developed. You've heard that, right? Doesn't develop till they're 25. Now they're saying 30 years old until that part of the brain is developed. Prep your basement bedrooms, right? So they don't yet have the neural brakes to manage all they're asking for. So it's a mismatch. They're demanding more control before they can actually handle it. I don't need you. Can you pick me up? So you're feeling that whiplash because the developmental demand for independence outpaces their brain's capacity to handle it. So they need you to be a captain, which I'll get to. And the last one, which ties right into Adrien, is I think so many of us think that if we get mad at ourselves, we're going to do it better next time. Right? We replay that moment with this harsh self talk. Oh, God, I should have been calmer. What is wrong with me? I should do this better. Maybe I'm the problem. Or, he's such a jerk. Why does it get like this? Oh, I shouldn't think that. So it puts your brain right back into your fight or flight threat mode, which keeps your system revved up. And when your nervous system is on high alert, you are more likely to snap the next time. So instead of breaking that cycle, we wire in more reactivity and disconnection. So you blow up, you get mad at yourself, the shame spikes you have shame, that spikes the cortisol, and then you reinforce this neural pathway of blowing up and getting mad at yourself. So what you really need is compassion and repair. So I will get to the how to, that's what's going on. So with this new phase, I'm going to rely on Adrien to help a little bit with how do we find ways to calm that emotion, right? We've got this whole new brain, more synapses, more wisdom, more great ideas. So how do we get to that, Adrien?
So you're exactly right, Mary. With age does come wisdom, ladies. We have more synapses, more connections in our brain than when we were in our 20s and 30s. We have more wisdom. We know that science teaches us that we are better decision makers. I'm not going to surprise any of you with that. We're better at decision making now. I am at 58 than I was at 28. Of course I am. I've had more life experiences. So number one, remember, you're in charge and you are strong. And I like to tell all of my members, you are an athlete. And you're an athlete in life, and you're an athlete in the gym, or in your basement, or in your hotel gym. So what I have introduced probably about 15 years ago is my wellness wheel. This is, again, your new brain, your new foundation. And now we're in perimenopause and menopause. And we turn it into a positive because now we look at our health and wellness in terms of our longevity, in terms of our strength. and I'm passionate about bone density and building muscle, because if we have good bone density and flexibility, you need both, and we have ample, strong muscle, then we know we're going to live longer, and we're going to have a less drastic end of our life experience. So let me give you an example of some with whom I've worked, and I'm going to use a fictitious name. I'm going to talk to you about Beth. So Beth came to me very intrigued with my concept. She is a business owner, very successful, very well known, and she felt fine with her physical movement. Her food was perfectly fine, and she thought she had her, you know what, together with her calendar. So it didn't take long. After a few questions, I asked her about her sleep. Oh, I'm fine with my sleep. And how's your stress? And she said, oh, it's fine. So, over the course of time, I learned that there was every night she was waking up. Every night she was waking up with either night sweats or worry. And that's what wakes us up in the witching hour, ladies, between 1 and 3. That is a combination of cortisol and its lovely pathway in your brain. And that's what happens between 1 and 3 in the morning. And then what happens is we have this interconnectedness of all of our holistic practices that I teach in my program. So if I'm not getting my sleep, and Beth was not getting her sleep, she was getting up to use the restroom, and she was getting up because she was hot, and she was getting up because she was stressed. So she was getting up, and then therefore, if you go around the wheel, her chances of having good stress resilience, and stress resilience to me in my program means that I'm going to respond and not react to that uncertain whatever that comes my way. She was finding that she honed in on these two things. Now, again, with most of my clients, I'll even raise Heather. Heather also had sleep challenges. In this phase of our lives, most women, right here is where it starts. It's with the sleep. And I can't tell you how many women have said, okay, so I'm going to get sleep and I'm going to lose weight. And I say yes, yes, and yes. Because when I get sleep, I am more motivated to physically move my body in the way it should move. I'm more motivated to put it on my calendar. I'm definitely more motivated to have stress resilience practices like a meditation practice. And I'm definitely going to be more intentional about how I fuel my body. So because I can look at my body, and Heather and Beth are two of the examples of the 3,000 women with whom I've worked, I have found that those two, sleep and stress, they're called biodirectional because one impacts the other. If I have an amazing sleep practice, then my stress practice is going to be likely excellent. If my stress resilience practice is excellent and I have my list of tools that I use to either help me prevent something from happening, like my calendar, overfilling my calendar, or serving others well before myself, or if I simply just breathe through a board meeting when I have some really bad news coming my way that just hit my table, then my sleep is going to be better. So as you can see, all of these different practices that I teach in my program, they are all based on science. They are all based on research, and you too can own this method very simply. Now, I need to tell you, willpower and discipline are dead. So the days of us willpowering ourselves through a particular number of calories per day, or not eating this meal, or making up for a bad meal with a hard workout and sweating it out, those days actually, I'm hoping today, September the 12th, they are over, because our body will rebel against us if that's how we treat her. We have amazing missions and vocations in life, and therefore we need to fuel her as well as we fuel the others around us. Therefore, we want to actually develop and create small, reasonable habits. The smaller the habit in my program, the more likely a member is going to achieve her 10,000 steps. Her meal planning, scheduling time for herself every day, getting her workout in 3 times a week, her strength training workout 3 times a week, eating more vegetables. If she does the little ones 1 time a week or 2 times a week, we never take on a new habit in our program for 7 days. We try one. So we map out small, reasonable habits, and over the course of time, you add to them. In the science of habits, neuroscience of habits, it's called habit stacking. So we stack a new habit we want to develop onto something that we're already doing that's really strong. So I can tell you in my program, and also I just want to let you know in the chat, in case any of you all need to leave before we're finished today, both Mary and I have put our Calendly links in the chat. Grab them if you want to get a hold of either one of us individually. Both of us have offerings for you today. There's some winners for some prizes, and we also can tell you more about the programs that we teach. But just in case you have to leave early, there is going to be a recording, and our Calendly links are in the chat. So this is my wellness wheel. It's proprietary. It took me about 25 years to come up with it. I'm very proud of it, and I can say that I have about 50 women in my program right now who are crushing their goals. So Mary, guess what? I remember going through perimenopause and having twin 5-year-olds. And I remember the experience and the stress. I wasn't sleeping. I was running my problems off from the day before. And I know that perimenopause had an impact on my parenting back then. For anybody here today who just might feel the same, how do you help parents when they're going through all of this?
Well, you've got a lot to do, but you can do it. The most important thing is that I want to say that I love about Adrienne's work, which is part of the reason I think we're so aligned, is I broke it down into these small steps. And my original when I sort of came up with my method was what are the habits I wished I'd had, and we build those habits by practicing them. We can practice our way into being who we want to be. So that's what I'm going to take you through. Um, so I want you to just get into parenting mode. Have you ever asked your kid, to turn off their device and they refuse? And then you promise yourself you'll stay calm. And you ask again, and then they ignore you. And suddenly you're yelling in a way that scares everybody, but especially you. And that night there's the tears and the shame, and you're asking yourself, why do I always do this? Why can't I be a better parent? That was me. I tried overhauls. I tried quick fixes. I tried bribes. I tried punishments. And I just hoped the next one would stick. I hope she'll stop treating me like this when she gets older. I hope that one won't become anxious like me. I hope she'll finally be confident once she makes the A team. But hope, it's not a strategy. And what I always felt like is if one of those therapists I paid had just grabbed me by the shoulders and said, Mary, you've got it. You're giving 150%, and they need that. They need you. But it's not about doing more. It's about doing it slightly differently, just some of the time. And I think if I'd heard that, I probably would have burst into tears. So, what does that really mean? Doing it slightly differently some of the time. And that's where I say it comes down to these power of these micro moments. They're small, intentional, doable actions that turn these frustrating moments into an opportunity, for modeling, for growth, for connection. And I often tell this story, like imagine you're in the kitchen, right? You're juggling breakfast, you're bagging those obligatory carrots for lunch, you're wondering where in the heck their water bottle went, and your 12-year-old walks in. You got to get back upstairs and change that shirt. It's dirty. And then get down here. We got to get to school. We think that our affection and our deep love is obvious because we're caring for them. We care if they go to school with a dirty shirt. We care that they get their blueberry waffles for breakfast. Because we measure our parenting by our intentions. But our kids, they experience it through our reactions. So they latch onto that critical face. What's wrong now? And this is only a moment, but it's an opportunity. And Toni Morrison was the one who once said to Oprah, when a kid walks in the room, your child or anyone else's, does your face light up? Because that's what they're looking for. So this is just an example of a moment. When they show up, look them in the eye and smile. Let your face say, I am so happy to see you. Right? That's a powerful connection. And if the shirt's really dirty, try, look who's here. And then talk about the shirt. Or my husband's favorite, which drives me crazy. Oh, look, a ray of sunshine on an otherwise cloudy day. Mind you, as they get to teens, they like that less than he does. But these, and then you deal with the shirt. But these brief moments, they hold immense potential in shaping their trust in you, their self perception, even their self worth. So now instead of hoping, you're taking advantage of a moment. I call it proacting in a way that speaks volumes. So now you're thinking, all the time? No. When you can, when you think of it, when you're like, okay, I got to practice this one. When you're habit stacking, they walked in the door. What am I supposed to do? I want you to think of it this way. Next slide. Let's assume you greet your kids a couple times a day. Minimum, that's 2 times a day. Next slide. That's 14 times a week. Next slide. 56 times a month. Next slide. 672 times a year. The next slide, between 5 and 15, you have like 7,000 opportunities to show them with just your face that they're seen, they're loved, and they belong. And that happens in a moment. And those are just the sort of the happy lighting up moments. There are countless others that aren't always warm and fuzzy. When they refuse to get into bed, when they bring home an average report card, when they won't get off the device, when they want to talk and you are tapped out, when you want to snuggle and they want to read their book, when they roll their eyes, slam the door, or they sigh loud enough to like register on the Richter scale. We think of those as noise, but they're not. They're all opportunities. So the next slide. The first challenge is that moments don't always look like moments. They look like misbehavior or apathy or defiance. And when that happens, we misinterpret what's going on. I want you to think of this really short story I have where you're out walking and you see this really cute dog. And you think, oh my gosh, that dog's so cute. I'm going to go pat him. Oh my God, look at him. And you go over closer to the dog and suddenly he's growling and baring his teeth and his ears are back. And you're like, that's not a good dog. That's a mean dog. That is an awful dog. That's a bad dog. And as you go around the dog, you look back and you see his foot's in a trap. And it's bleeding. And what happens? Your heart softens. Now the bad dog's not a bad dog. He's like a dog who's struggling. He's not a mean dog. It's a dog who hurts. It's not an awful dog. It's a dog who doesn't just necessarily know what to do. Now your intention changes. Now your intention is, you don't really want to do your homework, do you? What can I do to help you get started? So what I use for this is what I call, Jennifer Kalari has a calm technique, which I love. C is connect first. How could you connect before getting frustrated at what they're doing? Because normally they're doing something that's just as fun to do. Like I don't necessarily want to eat a pint of Ben and Jerry's before I go to bed at night and watch Netflix, but you might find me doing it. So if someone comes in and says, Mary, what the heck are you doing? You don't like eating that. You're my husband. He'll say, why are you doing that? You know, it makes you feel lousy. No, it's like, ugh, you felt ice cream tonight. What's going on? Second is your affect. What would it look like to match their energy? If they're low and down and they want just some alone time, meet them there. Don't meet them with high energy. Come on, we got to get this done. How are you ever going to get into that AP class? Body language so they feel understood. So you're matching it. Then I want you to listen, because when you listen, you're going to find out what's happening beneath the words. What's really going on? You know, I don't really like being on this A team. I never get to play and I'm nervous all the time. But that takes opening your ears and biting your tongue. And the last one is mirroring, and you've heard of this. Mirroring is the best way to describe it is when any of your kids first got their shot, your first baby got their first shot. You're sitting there in the room and they jab this needle into them. The baby screams, and what do? You cry. Because you are mirroring that child's emotion. You can feel what's going on for that child, and you pick up the child and you say, that really hurt, didn't it? Now, with the shot, it takes a minute, but the baby calms down. And why does a baby calm down? Because you're connecting, you've got the same affect, and you're mirroring. And listening is a big part of that as they get older. So I call that accepting is not agreeing. And it's one of my moments in my book. It is the place to start. I don't care what you have going on. I could give you all kinds of examples of parents that come to me, and within 3 weeks, we've used this, and there's a huge shift. In 2 weeks, really, but the problem they're addressing might be bigger. Huge shift because you're getting them. Secondly, next slide. Boundaries and limits. They're hard, right? We don't like to hold them. We don't like to do it. It's just a matter of saying no. It's a matter of understanding consequences. I can't go through all of that here. I do stuff on that all the time. Follow me. You can get a piece of that. But the quick story I want to give here is, let's decide we're all going to go on a trip. So we all get on the plane, or I'm sitting next to Adrien, and we, ready to order our drink. Ready to get a tiny can of whatever they give out for free. And we're all excited for our trip. And the plane does that thing where it drops out of the air and grab the seats. And now we're really scared. And we're waiting. We're waiting for it to go bing bong. Fasten your seatbelts. You've hit a bit of turbulence, right? And then you all get calm and you sit there. Instead, the pilot comes out. Anybody got any idea what's going on here? That was a big bump. I'm wondering, I don't know. I could try to go through it because I know you all want to go on vacation, but I'm not really sure. I could land, but I'm not 100% sure there's an airport here. I could go back. I don't know if I have enough gas. I don't know. Any of you guys got an idea? Now you're petrified. Kids need steady leadership. You are granted parental authority when they are born. Is it hard? Yes. Sometimes you need some extra tools to learn how to do it and how to practice it. But when you can set up your limit and stick to it, they calm down. It's not what you'll see first because they'll fight back if they're used to getting away with it, but they don't want to be in charge. We want the pilot to know what they're doing. So those boundaries act like seatbelts and they act like a steady pilot. So negotiation and input have their place. We want to have those conversations, but it's not a democracy. Haim Janot said it years ago. All feelings are allowed, all behaviors are not. I get it. You really want to be able to stay out till 11. In our family, we don't stay out till 11 when we have a game at 7 the next morning. So you can either go and come home at 10, you can stay home and pout, or you can go and be in a bad mood, or you can go and have fun and I'll get you at 10. Your choice. I'll be in the car. Without adult guidance, they stay on high alert. And that lack of limits fuels that emotional dysregulation we're talking about and fuels the combustion you're having. So that's a critical one. That's harder to give you a quick tool, but the one I would practice right away is when you've established a rule with them that they get off the tablet until their homework's done, you don't have a big fight about it. You walk over and you take the tablet and you say, and I'm pretty sure one of the emails you got in this lead up to this said that. You walk over, you say, I'm just going to take this now. You remember the rule. Nah, 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 nah. Don't say anything. Bite your tongue. So say no, bite your tongue. The last piece that I have to have you walk away with is the next slide is that ruptures are normal and repairs reconnect. The reason I did accepting is not agreeing first is because that connection, that understanding, that seeing that the baby hurt when the needle was put into her leg, that wires connection, which is the basis for cooperation and calm and listening and making good choices. Because when we calm the survival brain, they can start to use that prefrontal cortex that is not developed until they're almost 30. So you are helping them develop that. But there are going to be ruptures. So what happens? I want you to think of connection as like a long chain of links, right? So all these links. Every time you do something fun, you go to a game, you cheer them on, all the great things I know you are all doing for your kid. You are building that connection. So pat yourself on the back. You are doing this all the time. A rupture is any incident where there's a break. And usually, if you're feeling cruddy, it's because you have a little bit of pain from that rupture with your child. It's less that you're worried he's not going to get into Harvard, even though that's there. And it's more that you just want to get along with them. So, what we do is the rupture is the emotional breakdown, right, of what's happening. And I don't know, we'll take a simple example. You've had a long day, can't get your child to do their homework, and you end up yelling. And then, you have a fit, and then you're like, well, figure it out on your own, blah, 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 and you stomp off and go get your glass of wine. One option is to decide that they were the problem. So the apology people sometimes do looks like this. Oh, I had such a hard day. Everything at work went wrong. And then you just wouldn't do your homework, which made me so mad. Like, I was at the end of my rope, so I yelled at you. Yeah, I'm sorry, but I know I shouldn't. But wait till you have to go to work every day and your kid never listens. You'll yell too. So, yeah, I'm sorry. What you've just done is said, my control and my ability to control myself is your responsibility. I'm not saying it's ineffective. Sometimes you get the outcome you're looking for, but you haven't actually repaired. And the second thing that people say to me is, well, my child came back to me and they said, I'm sorry. So they know what's wrong and we're all good. The reason the child comes back to you and apologizes is because they feel that disconnection and they have a hardwired emotional need to be connected. So they come back and do that, but they're actually still in distress. So what does a repair look like? The first thing is this is neuroplasticity in action. We are taking something that happened and we're rewiring the brain so they feel good about themselves. First, I want you to do the non-shame. Honor yourself. I am a good mom. I'm having a hard time. 2, explain it. Explain exactly what it looked like. I snapped because I had a hard day and I was feeling overwhelmed. Accept responsibility. I know my reaction must have made you scared, and I'm sorry. I'm working on controlling my temper, or next time, let's try this, or what do you think we could do differently? That's the repair. So I'm watching the time, and I think, Adrien, we should just skip over that next slide. And so I've given them a lot of information, and I want to make sure we get into who wins the award.
Yes. Should we do that? And we're ready for that now. Christina, you ready?
All right.
So as you all can see, we have some giveaways today. Mary has her very generous 50-minute session. She gives you a family behavioral assessment. She gives you this parenting plan with actionable micro steps. And then you get a signed copy of her very fancy book. Then, or for me, you get a 60-minute free wellness session with me or a fitness consult, whatever you need from me that day. You get a free copy of my wellness blueprint. And then I'm going to give you access to one of my video series has about 20 different movements and exercises that you can take on the road with you. So we're going to go ahead and choose a name. I'm going to close my eyes. I've got everybody's name in front of me here. And if you're here, great. If you're not, I think, Mary, we said did they have to be? Yes, they have to be here. So I'm going to point to a name. And it is for Erica Basto. Erica, are you here? Okay, Erica is not here. Then we're going to go to the next person, and that is for Lara Jason. Okay, we're going to go to our third person, Courtney Jung.
I do see a Courtney in the list.
All right, Courtney, she wins Mary's. Nice, Courtney wins. Excellent. Okay, for my giveaway, yay, Courtney, you're here. It's going to go to Meredith Stein. Meredith
She's
here? She's not here.
no.
Okay. We're going to go to Annie Galvin.
She is here.
Annie, yay. Okay. So again, I just want to make sure you all know how to get a hold of us, and then we're gonna have time for Q&A. I know we scheduled 45 minutes. We totally understand you are probably the busiest people on the earth. We can get it. We are too. So if you need to go, go. But we have actually, Mary and I got together today and we decided if you needed an additional time up until 1 o'clock when we both need to get to other meetings, that's fine. If you have questions, we can answer anything for you here. And then also, again, go to our websites to get a contact form, adriencotton.com, marywillcoxsmith.com, Willcox with 2 L's. And you're going to find also in the chat, you're going to get a contact form, and that way you can get a consult with us. I have a free 30-minute consult. I'm pretty sure, Mary, you do too. And it's free. So anything you need from me, I'm here. I'm incredibly passionate about it, as you can tell Mary is. But in the meantime, why don't we go ahead and take some Q&As? Take some cues. Okay, Amina, you asked, how do you know when it starts? Amina, are you still here?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, this was when you were talking about perimenopause and
Yeah.
all the symptoms.
Yeah, I kind of know because we
Okay.
know when parenting starts. Just kidding. I know I have really bad jokes. Everybody just indulge me. So how do you know when it starts? That's a really good question. Oftentimes you don't. So I highly recommend that you establish a relationship with a doctor who's known as a menopause specialist. Up until the time when you had your kids, you had an OBGYN and they did a fabulous job for you. And they also may be they may also be called a menopause specialist. Menopause specialist means they took extra schooling to actually learn about menopause because OBGYNs don't. They learn about babies and delivery and a lot of other things. Once we hit menopause, we need to see a menopause specialist. So you will know when it starts if you are in your 40s and you look like you're 20. If you're in your 40s, the likelihood that you're in perimenopause is pretty darn high. If you still have your cycle every month, it still could be perimenopause. Over the course of your 40s, you will have missed periods. I would also say pay attention to your cycle. Pay attention to it, its length, how heavy or light it is, and make sure you map it. There's some great apps. Know when your cycle starts, when it finishes, how heavy and all. That is really going to help you a lot. Please encourage your daughters to do the same thing. I have an 18-year-old daughter, same thing. Map it out. They're great apps. So know that, and that's going to be your first sign, physical sign, but your emotional sign is going to be anxiety. Anxiety, vaginal dryness, sleep disruptions, and weight gain. And add loss of libido, lack of libido. So those are the 5 big ones. And that tells me you are definitely there. And again, go onto my Calendly if you have more questions. Happy to offer any more advice to you. How's that? Amina, did I do okay?
Yes, thank you. That's helpful.
Yeah, you bet. Okay. I don't see any cues. Anybody else here? Questions? If you all are still here and you're willing to continue, I have some questions for Mary that I think may apply to both of us. So Mary, we were talking about, is that okay with you all? Okay, you're still here. I'm still here. So you were talking about these neural breaks. That's a good one. So would you explain what a neural break is? Because I know, because I also study the brain. But our friends here may not know what that means. And you can talk about neural breaks in terms of parenting, and I'd love to talk about neural breaks when it comes to perimenopause and menopause.
But wait, why don't you start with the perimenopause and menopause neural breaks?
I would be happy to. So
I wanna hear
nerve
them.
breaks. So the nervous system, remember ladies, we are training our nervous system. Our nervous system is responsible for everything that our body does, from our heart beating to our muscles contracting to us blinking our eyes. And so our nervous system comes from what our brain is telling it to do. So if our brain is always in high alert from lack of sleep, no stress resilience practices, an overwhelmingly busy life, caring for elderly parents, kids too, Who knows what's going on relationally in your life? And you've got stress. So I would say when it comes to neural breaks, I would say develop a really robust breathing practice.
Mm.
Learn how to breathe. I can teach you. I'm sure Mary can teach you because of what she does for a living. And really learn how to deeply breathe, because when we do that, we automatically calm our nervous system. Our nervous system is responsible for getting us that fight and flight position from heightened cortisol. It's in this primal fight or flight position. And literally a few breaths can take your shoulders away from your ears and calm you down. And the calmer we are through our lives, the longer life we're going to lead. The less weight we're going to put on, the more sleep we're going to get. Need I go on? The better food choices you're going to make. There's my neural breaks. Mary, how about you?
Well, so I asked you to go first because there's two things. And one, I was thinking in terms of the parent, because as you can tell, I fully believe the parent is the change agent of so much of this. Is I want to just latch on to what Adrien said. We get triggered for a lot of reasons. So when you breathe, you're putting yourself, you're calming that fight or flight that's going on in your brain. It is neurophysical. You have to breathe. It's one of the ways to pull on the parasympathetic system, right? Which calms you. But another piece to help you in that calming is to notice what triggered you. Now, the obvious thing is to think, well, it's because my kid doesn't respect me. But what I call parent traps are these automatic thoughts and expectations that we put on our kids, but they're actually mired in our own trauma and our own childhood beliefs. So I'm just going to give you an example of it, because when you can be aware of what's driving you and then you breathe, well, I'm going to get to that in a second. I'm going to give you an example first. These are two classic parenting times. Classic parenting types. I call it the what about me parenting trap. My child needs to respect me and appreciate me. But that might come from a story that you tell yourself. Everyone takes advantage of me. Why does no one ever listen to me? And then when your 7th grader walks in the door and rolls his eyes, don't you dare look at me like that. Get upstairs and come back down when you can be a good kid. So we think it's their rolling of the eyes, but what has triggered your system, and there's a lot of explanation in it, is the fact that you generally don't feel respected. Or another great one is the excel parent trap, right? My kid has to excel at everything. Might stem from your story.
Yeah.
I have the story. I'm not
Yeah, I do a lot of the story work with our work too. Is it
You
our
do.
story
I'm
often
not successful. Yeah.
from our
I'm not
parents?
successful and perfect. Once I'm successful and perfect, then we'll be worthy. So I'm sure Adrien does it, because it's what you have to do. And then to your 8th grader, how'd you get a B? You'll never get into the honors class. But it's really your story, not theirs. Because if it was my kid, you'd be like, oh, why'd they get a B? Maybe they need more help studying. Maybe the class is too hard. What do they need? So that's why I pull in the calm. But right before you do the calm, if you can take 2 breaths, then you are able to look at them and say, where's the trapped leg? And that breaks that. So that's the one in the parents that really clicks into what Adrien's saying. And then in terms of the kids, they just don't have the connection yet. So what we're trying to do is take a moment of theirs so they don't end up with the triggers that we have. When they don't do well on a test and they have a feeling, I call this my feeling, they have a feeling of, oh my God, I'm not good enough. My mother's not going to like me as much. They like me more when I get A's. And that emotion is looking for a message to stick to. And so when you can say, look, I'm really proud of how hard you tried. I saw you studying. We can figure out, you can still want them to get an A. You're just not saying it in that moment. We can figure this out. You want to talk about this later? What happens is that emotion gets attached to that message. And now you're creating a story. You're starting to build a story that's kinder to them. Does that make sense? Is that helpful, Adrien?
Yeah, it's great. It's great. I think what we're going to do is give these amazing women who have taken 56 minutes on your Friday. We're going to give you 4 minutes back because I'm guessing that most of you are running into something else. So I just wanted to repeat to you how to work with me. I work one-on-one with clients, but I really, really am enjoying so much more. And women get so much out of my group programs. I have a fitness program and I have a concierge small group where we work through my wheel and I strength train. I also speak and I do corporate talks. Mary, how to work with you?
So all the same, I do a lot of speaking. I speak for schools and organizations. So if I can support you like that, and absolutely love the connection, you can reach out. I do have various packages for working with parents, and I've just started because I coach as well. And on the sidelines and in the grocery stores, I get people talking to me. They're like, I just have one quick question. So I actually now have a drop in once a week, no masterclass, no nothing. And it's cheap and it's I'll make sure I put it in the emails, but it's a way to just start and get some answers. So I have, a variety of ways of working with me, and then there's of course the book. And I
Yeah,
would love
send
to
that drop
support
in
any of you.
to us because we'll send it out in our newsletter. We'll
Yeah.
send how to work with you again. So thank you everybody for coming
Thank
today.
you.
Enjoy the rest of your beautiful day here, at least in Northern Virginia. And if you need anything from us, let us know. Have a good rest of your day.